Alright, kids, welcome back to another episode. Exciting episode of No Subs, No Dubs. The show where Casey Kidd, the Kamikaze Kidd. I watch a movie without subtitles, without dubs, and try to explain it with plentiful spoilers, or somewhat spoilers, as you might say. And well, first off, let's get into a recommend shout out. There's a channel on YouTube called Caleb Watches Movies, and I don't think this guy has enough subs. So give him subs. Ignore the no subs for that. Give him subs. At least watch an episode or two. A review. He reviews movies, basically, and I think he does a really good job. Small channel out there. Caleb Watches Movies, and let's see if we can blow up his channel a little bit. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get into it. I was told by my producer, Buckaboy, he had in his recommendations come up, The Drinker Recommends All Quiet on the Western Front. And then he didn't recommend, he told me, he's like, I'm your producer, I saw this as a recommend, so you're gonna do this podcast on that movie. And then I saw the length of the movie and I went, oh man, I don't like super long movies. Get that out in front. And then I started watching it. I was like, okay. Super long or not, this movie's good. So this is a German-speaking movie, and I don't know German. Not very. I know Achtung, I think, and Heil. I actually don't know what that means. I know there's a bunch of Germanic words in English, but I didn't really catch anything. So no worries there. I think we're good. Alright, so spoilers ahead, in case you haven't listened to the show, but welcome back. So the first bit of this movie is, I don't think there's any speaking in it. I just watched it, but it's a very long movie. I'll probably get quite a bit of it wrong, because I have a just terrible memory. So there's this whole beginning bit, and there's not much speaking, and it's kind of like the aftermath of a battle, and there's all these dead people, and it looks, not the dead people, but the visuals are spectacular throughout the movie, and that's the one thing I will say. Keep looking at this movie and going, wow, they shot this really, wow. The whole time I was like, this is beautiful. It's all about war, so it's unpleasant, but it's very pretty movie. The cinematographer, I would assume, will get some sort of awards, or director of photography or whatever, and they did a very good job, whoever they are. So the first bit is all about like the aftermath, and they're taking clothes off of people and like basically recycling it back into their society, as you do. I mean, it's a cheaper alternative than having people actually sew new uniforms together, and it's kind of depressing. And then we get straight into it. The bicycle guy, our main guy's bicycle boy. I put my notes, bicycle boy, so I'm going to call him that he's the protagonist. It seems like he's biking along, and he comes to the spot with what I assume are his friends, schoolyard buddies, as it were. And I think he got drafted, or has a letter just saying, I want to join. So they all join the military, and there's like really neat shots of like all these kids, and they're all excited about going to war, because they don't know. They didn't see the first 10 minutes or so of this movie. So had they seen that, they might have been like, nah. And then they all get lined. There's like a speech from some guy, and they get lined up, and they're getting weighed in, like fighters, and they all look super skinny, super small people. So these are just kids, just 16, 17-year-olds or whatever. And our bicycle boy, he gets his uniform, and the uniform comes in, and there's a name tag on it. A name tag is like, because it's some other guy's uniform, they're just recycling people throughout the war machine, right? And he mentions it, and they cut that name tag off. They're like, that's good as new. Okay, well, cut that out, bucket boy. Coughing fit. So he goes in, and then it's pretty much like everyone's together, and there's this glasses guy, and this is the thing, I kind of fixated on it because, I saw this guy with these glasses on, like military glasses that they gave him, because his eyes are all messed up, and the straps are like swimmer, like glasses, swimwear stuff, and I'm looking at him, I'm like, oh boy, you're in trouble, glasses guy. You're not gonna do well. And they're all excited. They're all happy. They're going to the front, and they get to the front, and it gets pretty fast, pretty hard. That this is not pleasant. They go to the front, and they go into the situation pretty quick, and they're getting driven along. One thing that I noticed is there's this doctor who comes out, is telling people to go this way. He's got blood on his apron, and I'm like, I'd see that, and I'd look at the doctor and be like, oh no, I don't want to be the guy bleeding on the apron. I want to be the guy wearing the apron in this situation. At least there, it gets a little bit different when it's like the politicians and the generals, or I assume like the leaders, right? That's the best spot. And he brings them in, they go to the front, and they're like all in the trenches and stuff, and then it's just havoc and bombings and whatnot, and that's when it gets pretty real. That's when, oh boy, that's when it's like, this is not all songs and cheering along, this is war, boys. So, oh yeah, I was wondering, like, did they get any training? I think I passed that part. Maybe it skipped their 2 days of training, or like, you hold the weapon this way, boys. I was thinking about doing a German accent, but I don't think I can do a really good one. Hold the weapon this, boys, and aim and shoot. Are they all pretty well versed in weapon holding? But I don't know if they get weapon holding, but everything gets bombed and stuff, and our main guy, Bicycle Boy, has to go around after the bombing and get tags and stuff, and he steps on glasses, and you're like, knew it. Glasses guy he's toast. That was not, and I was like, oh, don't wear glasses if you're going to war. Wear contacts. That's ad read this week. Wear contacts. Buy you some contacts. He's taking off dog tags, glasses. The glasses guy's dead. I will say, what I noticed about this movie is the colors really pop. It's like the red against the blue, and there's so much dirt and mud and stuff, but visually just spectacular. Spectacular. Oh, and then there's like, they get to the trenches, and they deal with what I'm going to call, there's this old hat guy, right? He's just been there, done that, And the old hats are the ones who've been there and done that. So our main Bicycle Boy kind of teams up with old hat guy. And you're like, okay, old hat guy's going to take care of him until I just know old hat guy he's going to get into some situation where he croaks. And lo and behold, spoilers, he will croak. He will definitely. Oh, by the way, if you didn't know, there's spoilers for this movie. Old hat guy. And there's another old hat guy with like a messed up eye. And it's pretty much at this point, it gets bombed and stuff. And there's a situation where they like steal a goose. Bicycle Boy, an old hat guy, I think, team up, and they steal a goose from this farm. I was thinking about it. I was like, what about these goose farmers? Well, that's not good. That's not good. And then they're all hanging out. They eat the goose in a stew of some sort. Is that how you eat goose, by the way? Maybe that's how Germans eat goose. I don't know. Every time they're eating in this movie, by the way, this is like a meat and potatoes movie. I was thinking about stopping the movie at this point when they're eating the goose. And I was like, I need to make myself a steak. I don't have a goose on hand, but if I did, I'd make a goose, right? It looked delicious. Every time they eat in this movie, I just get a little bit hungry. And they smoke a lot too, and I'm, ooh, boy. I don't want a cigarette, but I do now. Don't smoke, kids. Don't smoke. But if you're watching this movie, you might get the urge. You might get that little, like, nicotine urge. Alright, so it's a steak and potatoes movie. I'm just saying that because it's like this will fill you up. It definitely will fill you up. And I wanted a steak during it. There's a scene where this one guy, I'm going to call him the horny poster dude. Horny poster guy. Horny poster dude, right? He's hitting on the French girls. Some French girls walk by in their wagon, with their wagon and their ox. And he starts, like, going over there and trying to hit on them and stuff. Or is it the bicycle boy who hits on him? I don't know. There's a scene where Old Hat goes to the woods and bicycle boy's taking a dump because their dump is in the woods, I guess. And they start talking, and Old Hat has just gotten a letter from home. That's what I think happened. I'm pretty sure he gets a letter from home, but I don't know if he can read because he gives it to Bicycle Boy. Bicycle Boy reads it to him. I think that's kind of a drawn-out shot, and you see the emotions on Old Hat, and you're like, oh, Old Hat's upset. Maybe it's like maybe it's a Dear John letter, you know. Or maybe it's just like this is life, and he's just missing his family. I'm not sure. They go to a train station eventually, like as a little group, and this does not look good. This is a scary situation. There's big old shells all over the ground, and the train tracks are all twisted up and stuff. And it's like, you don't want to be here. You do not want to be here. Something bad happened. Well, something did bad happen. There's a whole room full of, like, dead people, and that's not good. And we have this horny poster dude. He finds a poster. This is where he gets his poster. And it's a guy and a girl, like an old-timey poster, right, from 19-whatevers. And he's talking to the poster. He's talking to the girl on the poster, and he cuts out the guy and keeps the poster to himself, the girl part. And it's like, dude, all right. You are definitely a horny poster, dude. Then there's, like, this bald guy who shows up. I think he's the leader or general or something. He seems pretty evil. All his scenes seem a little bit evil. Bald guy shows up. He has got a dog, which the dog's a good addition. If you're evil and you have this dog is not cuddly, but if you have a dog or an animal, it makes you seem less evil unless it's not a cuddly animal. This one does not seem that way at all. So just some notes there. There's a train ride situation, which seems like these are politicians, I think, going to meet out with in another train situation. The German politicians with the French politicians, a lot back and forth there. And then they're like getting together to what I assume is peace talks or a treaty of some sort. But before that, our main character, our bicycle boy, has to go. They have to, like, they've been bombed at their trench, but they got to take their trench. They've been at their home base. They got to go to the other base. They have to tag the other base, right? The other trench. It's definitely one of those run from here to there scenes, and it's definitely a lot of action and blowing up and people just falling over just like flies, just boom, boom, boom kind of thing. It's a very good scene. What really stood out is they get to the trench and they start like messing up everybody in there, all the French people. There's two things actually that stood out. One is, I guess the Germans wear some sort of like green coat and the French wear blue. And I was thinking, like, back then, one, if you are colorblind, and you're just shooting at everybody. Two, maybe it's just because I'm not good with nuance. Would I be shooting at, like, that's a coat, you know? It makes me very, very nervous. But the other thing is they get in and they get to this, like, little room, and his two old hats and Bicycle Boy, and they come in, and there's all this French food. And when you're in the presence of French cuisine, you know, when you're in the presence of French cuisine, you have to start eating. So they start eating, and that's when the meat and potatoes situation came back up boiling in me. I was like, they ate goose, now they're eating bread and cheese and sausage. Looks delicious. But then the ground rumbles and shakes and stuff, and you know, oh crap, something's gonna happen. They go out, tanks. You know, tanks, in game. Alright, so they start shooting at the tanks, obviously. It's like, shoot at armored vehicles. That doesn't do anything, so eventually everyone just runs away, and everyone's running, getting, like, destroyed and stuff. It's very, very, intense and more dramatic than what I'm saying. But there's also flamethrower fellas, and these flamethrower fellas are just going around burning stuff up and stuff. And then we get a political break while all that is happening. And the political break is, honestly, kind of boring. Kind of boring. And our main character, he's running. He falls in a pit where he pretends to be dead, but there's like a click. And he looks up, and he sees like a guy on the pit top, right? And he's like, oh boy, I'm gonna get shot. And then like a bomb blows up behind the guy who clicked, and then he falls in the pit as well, and there's a little scuffle where Bicycle Boy stabs the dude who fell. I'm not completely sure if the dude who fell was, if he was German or French or something, but there's kind of a back and forth with Bicycle Boy tries to save him after he stabs him, and then he gets some water on a cloth and squishes it out, which pretty much like waterboards this guy, and then the guy dies. So that's it, and then we kind of cut away from him. Also, I put this in the notes, which I don't think this happened at that time. There's a lady garment guy, and the lady garment guy, he's some other dude who, he has a lady's garment, I think, or a scarf or something, and when they're all sleeping together in their bunks earlier in the movie, he gave it to Bicycle Boy to smell. Maybe it smelled like, I don't want to say this on that podcast. A different podcast, I might say what it smells like. And then Bicycle Boy gives it to another guy, and then gives it down the line. They all make fun of him, and he gets up, and he gets, garment guy gets mad. He goes over and gets his garment back and stuff. But now, fast forward to where we were. Bicycle Boy's out of the pit. He's back home based. He touched home base. He even went farther back to like the town. Everyone's drunk. And it's just a whole situation where everyone's drunk. It's like a circus. And he runs into Lady Garment Guy, and Lady Garment Guy is on like his bed, his legs all messed up, and he gives the garment up. He gives it to Bicycle Boy, and Bicycle Boy's like, okay, I'm gonna get you some food now. So he goes over and gets food, and he meets back up with his old hat buddy. An old hat buddy and him go back to Lady Garment Guy, and you know, here's some utensils, and we're going to give you some soup after we eat first, obviously. And Lady Garment Guy starts stabbing himself in the neck. Just, you know, stab. And he dies. He definitely dies. And then, I guess they finish their soup. Then it cuts to like a train meeting, and there's peace talks, you know. And you can tell who the French are immediately, because they're all in blue, and they're all like dolled up. I wrote ordant, which I don't think's a word now, but it could be a word, so you guys use that. They look all ordant. And there's the bald guy again. We see him, but he doesn't seem excited about the celebrations. I think they're all celebrating peace or possible peace. This guy's not having it, and he has some discussion with another dude. And then there's a thing where Bicycle Boy and his old hat friend, they're talking for a little bit, and they go to sleep, and then they wake up, and they go back to the farm, the goose farm, right? They go back to the goose farm to steal some goose eggs. Well, it's like duck eggs, I think, but this time, Bicycle Boy, he goes in, and he steals eggs, but the little farm boy, The little farm boy basically catches him in the act and shuts the door on him, locks it, and gets his dad. And his dad, who has a gun, chases him around, and he gets out of this little farm compound thing with some eggs in his pocket, and they're pretty much surviving up to this point. Well, they're running, and they're running, and then like the egg breaks, and they decide, let's drink the eggs. So they get a little pan out and get the egg juices and drink it, and it was like, ugh. Well, when you're hungry, right? Old Hat then goes out after they've gone a little ways, and he has to urinate on a tree. And there's a lot of tree shots, by the way. I think that's the thing. It's like a lot of nature stuff. Really beautiful movie. And a lot of stuff about trees. So he pees on this tree, and then the Goose Kid farm boy comes up and shoots him. But he lives. We just hear the shot, and then it goes back to the bicycle boy who runs and is like, oh, you're okay. And he's like bleeding out a little bit, and it makes me think, is Farm Boy dead? Or did he shoot him once, Farm Boy got scared and ran off or something? I'm hoping Farm Boy just ran off, and then he's good. Because otherwise Old Hat smashed him up pretty bad, and that's not good. Eventually they get to a doctor. They go back, pretty much just back to the same old town, and Old Hat just dies immediately. And that's how it goes. And Bicycle Boy still has the garment. I think he takes like a letter or something from Old Hat on stuff. And then that's pretty much it at that point until the new recruits come in. And there's a guy with a flower. You'll notice this guy because it's like, you're the new protagonist when this comes. Or protagonist Bicycle Boy is now Bicycle Man. And he's going to be Old Hat for this guy. That's what I was thinking. And then the bald man who seemed pretty like, I don't know, this guy seems evil. He comes out and makes this speech, and then after the speech, they shoot a number of people for some reason, and they push everyone to go back to the front. So I don't know why they shot people, but they did shoot some people. Everyone goes to the front, and then at the front, we're like at the French trench, and the old French hats are talking now. And I don't know what they're talking about, but they're probably like, this sucks. And then what happens is the Germans with the new recruits, they all come in sneaking at first they're sneaking, and then they all yell and start running. I was like, don't yell. Just keep sneaking until you're like a foot away, then yell. Then you'll scare them. But they yell, and then they like start falling like flies and stuff, and there's a battle and whatnot. And our guy, our Bicycle Man now, he does pretty good. He gets into the trench, and then he has a battle with this guy. And this guy, he almost drowns him. And you also see another shot of the new flower guy. And I was like, new flower guy, you better say Bicycle Man. But he's just kind of sitting there. It's like, nope. So, Bicycle Man grabs a rock and bashes this French guy in the head, and they scuffle up a little bit, and then they fall down some stairs into a basement trench area, and then they both stand up, they're looking at each other all intense, like, we gotta finish this. And then a French guy from the shadows comes up and he stabs Bicycle Man. All blood starts coming out. And then they both leave him to stand there bleeding. No, I think he falls down, but he's there bleeding, and you're like, no more bicycles for you. It's not good. And it's like, this is how it ends. This is how it ends, I guess. Well, down the trench, he gets up and he starts walking up. He walks up into the light, into what I assume is him walking up to heaven. And then he sees a poster. And he sees the poster, that poster boy, horny poster dude. He had put the poster up earlier, which I didn't mention because I'm all over the place on this. But he had put the poster up on their trench before they all ran out to invade one other trench, like middle of the movie. And he sees the poster and he's like, we're in our own trench. And then he basically dies. And then the new recruit dude, the flower dude, right? New flower recruit, he goes around taking dog tags like Bicycle Boy, who's now Bicycle Man, who's now Bicycle Dead Man. Anyway, a flower recruit goes around getting dog tags, and then he gets up to Bicycle Man. And he looks, and there's a lady's garment in his hand. And you're like, oh. And then flower guy's like, I wonder how that smells. So he picks it, he grabs it, and takes that. And I think he takes the dog tag, but I didn't see that. And then there's a last shot of trees, because trees is a big thing in this. And then German words, which are like a crap ton of people died in this. This was a flurry of dead people. 17 million or something. All right, 27 minutes. I got through the whole thing. Baka Boy was like, you won't be able to do this. I think I did pretty decent. I mentioned the bald man. There's a train riding dude. I don't think I mentioned that, but the train riding dude, I didn't really get into this. Honestly, those scenes were a little bit boring. I don't understand what's going on. This movie is one of those weird, not weird. It's very beautifully shot. It looks like they put a decent amount of money behind the stuff that they thought were important to film. I was thoroughly impressed. I thought the acting was pretty good, for the most part. War acting's always kind of like the same, I think. Joyous at the beginning. You get less joyous as you go along, and then you get hardened. So it was pretty good. It wasn't gimmicky like 1917, which was that the title of that movie? I thought that movie was good, but now that I think about it, there's 2 scenes that really stand out in that one out of the whole thing, and then the song's really good. But that's another review for a different kind of podcast. This is no subs, no dubs. I've seen the other one in English, and I speak broken English. Yeah, it was good. Visually very impressive. It was also interesting, the mechanisms of war, and the eating stuff. That was something I noticed, how the trench people, how the peasants, how your warriors ate compared to how the German politicians eat in it, and how the people on the train eat and stuff like that. So it was a very hungry movie for me. I kept watching it going, I need a steak. That's what I would say, steak and potatoes kind of movie. Very visceral, which I believe that's a French word for gut buster, right? A gut blaster of a movie, something like that, right? The very visceral kind of movie, very pretty. Nice blues, the color thing is really nice. Sounds good. It was kind of weird because when stuff bad was happening, it'd have this bomb, 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 but it didn't sound like that. It sounded like this industrial kind of soundtrack thing going on. So I get queued up to the music cues, and I'll be like, oh, okay, so something bad's gonna happen. I like how they had cut from all this visceral stuff, and then you would see some guy eating eggs on a train, or someone the bald guy throws his dog some food. I'm like, oh, that's nice. And then I thought, did you get rid of the bones in that first? I don't want that dog choking. Or was that just straight up meat? Because that looked like a lot of meat. It was good. It was one of those movies I wouldn't suggest without subtitles, though. Some movies, I think, do just fine without subtitles, and you can appreciate it and follow it along a little bit better. But when you get to the talky bits on this one, I think you need subtitles. And that's not a bad thing. That's kind of me going I would like to watch this with subs. But that's the rule of this podcast is I signed it a blood oath that I'd never watch another foreign film, another international film with subtitles. Baka Boy, he owns this blood oath, and he'll kill me immediately. Spoiler alert, if I break it. So, it looks like a decent movie with subs. I Definitely not going to be like my favorite war movie of all time. And I'm trying to think of like a hard... I just gave Train to Busan a hard 4, and this feels like a hard 4 too. So the next the next one you suggest, I need to watch a crappy foreign film, and just so I can switch up the ratings. And I'd honestly say this one might be... I might give it a soft 5 out of 5. How about that? And I know what you're thinking, like, is this just because... No. On the top of the head, I think I enjoyed this one more than the last one. And this one made me go, I want to watch this again, just with subs. So this is going pretty high on my book. And I like war movies. What can I say? Yeah. So, okay. So, I guess I'll say one more thing. What would be, like, my favorite Great War movie, right? As of now, best World War I movie. And this is a recommend, too. And 2 recommends this podcast, so congratulations. You getting another one. Paths of Glory. I think that might be my favorite, not favorite as in like enjoyable, but best Kubrick movie out of his. I really liked that one. That one's harsh. That one's harsh in a different way. This one is visceral harsh. That one is emotionally just draining. And yeah, that's what I'll say about that. Let's see how much we can cut out of this Baka Boy. I think I went a little long. I don't want this show to go too super long, as you'll get mad at me and start whipping me. I know how it goes. Anyway, thank you for listening. I'm Casey Kidd, Kamikaze Kidd, blown up all over this bitch. Take it away, Baka Boy. And if you're wondering why I'm saying whoever, I don't look up any information on the movies that I get recommended. I just get like the title and you'll watch this, because Baka Boy does not want me to have any, like, just scroll down a little bit. Oh, I know what it's about.